All right. Three, two, one, go.
Okay, and now I will switch the scene so you guys on the stream can see what's going on. What is going on? The Viper versus Dogao, and we are ready to go. This is going to be a great matchup, I really hope. We've seen the Viper play once already this tournament. That was versus Tato in round 1, but now he is back versus Dogao in round 2 for Battle for Angkor.
Which is, of course, played on the brand new expansion pack for Age of Empires 2 HD Edition, The Rise of the Rajas. So players here today will be playing the new civs on a wide variety of maps, and hopefully we get to see, of course, some of the new unique units and whatnot. And speaking of new things, this is going to be the first game in the tournament thus far where we've seen the Vietnamese.
I'm fist bumping right now. I've been doing it for the last 10 seconds because yes, Vietnamese, we've not seen them yet, and they're in the hands of the Viper. I know there's a huge amount of Vietnamese fans of Age of Empires 2. A fun fact for you, Age of Empires 1 regularly has 10,000 plus viewers from Vietnam. It's huge over there. They love AoE 1. They also love AoE 2, and finally, the Vietnamese have been included in the game. So it gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling inside.
1 second. Let me just really quickly...
Okay, I will continue. Right. So Viper here, playing in the blue. He's playing as the Vietnamese. And down to the south, once again, Dogao playing as the Burmese. The Burmese showing up a lot in this series, or in this tournament so far.
Indeed they are. We've seen so much of the Burmese and Khmer, but we haven't actually had a chance to see the Vietnamese yet, which have a very unique set of bonuses, but then again, so do all of the other civs. The Burmese, so what the Vietnamese have is they actually reveal their opponent's starting positions at the start of the game, so this reveals every town center, and if we switch to the view of the Viper and we toggle on Fog of War, we can see that he knows exactly how far away Dogao is. And that type of advantage is actually quite big, because if your opponent's close to you, then that determines how aggressively you should play in the early game, and it just gives you a lot of information.
Yeah, they also have fantastic archers, which is why I think Viper is very much going to enjoy playing with this civ, because archers are one of the more micromanaged, intensive units in the game, and Viper loves to micro, what can I say? So the archers for the Vietnamese get an extra 10% HP in feudal. They get an extra 5% in Castle, and a further 5% in the Imperial Age. So their archers get very tanky over time, and they actually function much like the plumed archer for the Mayans, in the fact that they will tank a lot of arrow fire as well.
A fun fact, they actually take exactly the same time to create as a plumed archer, and their elite upgrade also takes exactly the same amount of time to research. They are fairly similar unique units. The Rattan Archer is an archer that just heavily resists all forms of arrow fire, but it does die quite easily to any sort of strong melee attacker with high pierce armor. And overall, the Vietnamese are just a strong late-game slow-style push civ, with a very strong late-game army comp, backed with bulky battle elephants with 30 extra HP with Chatras, as well as their elite Rattan Archer with bombard cannons. They have a decent barracks. So, yeah, I hope that we get to see some of those things during this game, but really the early game for the Vietnamese is all about taking advantage of that archer range HP bonus.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something Viper's going to be very comfortable with, very happy with. But yeah, I think I would say that the Rattan Archer, which is their unique unit, like we said, very very good at dealing with other archers since they have high pierce armor. I would say it's more of an extreme version of the plumed archer, right? It's more extreme. It has higher pierce armor, I believe.
Much higher,
and
yeah.
It has more HP as well, so it's a little more extreme, a little bit more specialized. As a result, it's weaker in other areas. But one thing I would like to talk about very briefly here is the other unique technology for the Vietnamese, paper money. One of the most interesting unique technologies, I think, in the game right now.
I would completely agree with you. And a bunch of people have been asking in the chat how that technology works, so I will go do the honors of explaining it now that there's actually a Vietnamese player in the game. So, paper money, when you research it, it attributes 500 gold to each of your allies. The technology costs 800 food to research and 200 gold. In a single-player game, if you research that technology, you are trading 800 food and 200 gold for just basically 300 gold, because it gives you 500 gold and you spend 200 initially on it, which is not a great exchange, but there will be some situations where you have to do that, and that is actually a good trade-off. It gets the most value, though, in team games, of course, where you can turn, 800 food and 200 gold into 1,500 gold divided among your teammates, and then 300 gold for yourself. But it could still be used in single-player matches or 1v1s.
Yeah, I think that obviously the more players you add, the more valuable that research becomes, because it is the same price no matter how many teammates you have, and the more teammates you have, the more gold gets given out. So it's a really interesting, unique technology, and I think it's like it's one of those technologies that you have to kind of do it at some point. It's like one of those techs that has to happen at one point of the game, and that's something that you don't get with a lot of the unique technologies. It's very, very well unique.
It is. And it has quite a big impact in team games, but in a 1 versus 1 it's going to be a lot weaker, and it's the type of thing that you'd only research in the super late game as a way to trade around some resources. We saw the Viper being a big bully, taking advantage of a brief moment where Dogao did not have loom on his villager trying to build that barracks, and he actually delayed that barracks significantly. The Burmese 3 militia rush is actually quite strong, or their men-at-arms rush, because once they get to the feudal age they get an additional 1 attack in their infantry, and it just gives them a really smooth transition.
Yeah, absolutely. Viper here, though, with a bit of a drush. He's not going for the fast feudal man-at-arms play. Instead, he's going for the just all-out drush play. And I think he said in his interview that he thought we'd see a lot of sort of man-at-arms and sort of early aggression. And that's exactly what he's going for here. Of course, we've not spoken about the map, but the map is Serengeti, which means it's basically unwallable, which suits Viper very well. And he's going to come in with these militia now.
Indeed he is, and a defensive, perhaps men-at-arms rush for Dogao, just trying to get to the feudal age. He's almost there, he's about 60-70% of the way there. And he's going to have to defend against this 3 militia rush, but I think he'll be fine. Pulling a lot of villagers off the line will weaken his economy temporarily, but he should be able to hold this.
Oh, is Dogao going forward in plain sight of the Viper?
Oh.
I think he is.
Oh my god.
He's sending his own militia out now as well. I don't even know if he's going to do man-at-arms. I assume he would, but if he loses a militia, then it might be a different story. And he's sending 4 villagers forward. If there's any map that you would do a forward, I mean, this has got to be it, right?
That is indeed the case, but he's taking so much free damage on his militia and his scout because he's moving them in the same group. The enemy scout then being faster, doing a lot of damage for free. It's going to come down to some good focus fire to see who comes out on top of this engagement. And it looks like Dogao, with some absolutely excellent micro, will be able to clean this up, maybe without losing a militia. Wow.
Yeah, I think I'm ahead of you. I'm at 11 minutes and 7 seconds right now.
Let me
just a little ahead. We just watched that fight, and then you cast the fight after it happened. But still, we didn't cover it anyway, so it's all good because Dogao did come out on top. I was right about the man-at-arms thing, though. He did decide not to do that, and I think that makes sense. Instead, forward archery ranges. I like this a lot, but there is a lot of risk that comes with going forward, and this is the first forward we've seen in this tournament so far. And the risk that is involved is basically, well, if you lose your forward, you risk losing your buildings, and then you have to rebuild them back at home, and it could all just be a massive waste.
Yep. You trade a very powerful offense for almost no defense, and it'll be very difficult for Dogao to hold the line back at home if this does get pushed back. He will be able to zone the Viper probably off his forage bushes, maybe delay the second archer, and we'll have to see. The Burmese forward is actually quite strong because of the additional attack on their infantry and the free double bit axe that they get. This villager will actually barely escape.
Yeah, the one back to the TC alive with 4 health, which of course would have been a finishing blow had this militia got one more shot in. That's the nice thing about having that additional 1 attack. Very nice. It would have secured him the kill, whereas a militia without the extra 1 attack wouldn't have killed that villager with the extra kill. As it turns out, he didn't kill it anyway, but still. Tower's coming up for Dogao now, and this tower rush, coupled with this forward archery range and this high aggression, I like this style from Dogao.
Oh, me too, and Serengeti is one of the most aggressive maps in the game. One of the things that I wanted to do, because I always like to focus on little quality of life changes that improve the Age of Empires 2 experience for everybody, is I requested to the devs to change the acacia tree from 100 wood to 150 wood, and I feel like that makes Serengeti as a map a lot more playable, because before this your wood line would recede away from you so quickly and it would feel really unfair if you had bad wood. Still though, this map is really aggressive because it's almost impossible to wall, and the cracked sand reduces the HP of the buildings that you build on it. It shapes up to be a very, very rush-oriented game.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is working great for Dogao right now. He's denied those berries completely. Viper's been forced to wall in towards his TC to make a choke point. Obviously, Dogao does not want to run under here, otherwise he risks losing his army. But right now, he's in a great position, piling on that pressure. We got a forward watchtower as well, and even a forward blacksmith here. Dogao's just kind of going all in with this forward, and I think maybe he's even going to build a mining camp on this stone. Is he doing that? What's he doing with these villas? Is he going to tower again on the wall? Yeah, he's going to tower on the wall. Okay, that makes sense. He's going to try and break through here. Viper just trying to buy himself some time and counter-attacking over at Dogao's base. And as we said earlier, when you do forward aggression like this and get such a high amount of aggression going out, you often leave yourself undefended, and Viper's making the most of that now.
So basically, what you should do in a situation like this is exactly what the Viper's doing. Stall at home with static defenses. Your own defensive towers, palisade walls, houses. Just try and create a makeshift wall off and buy time while you simultaneously bring some of your own military units, go to your opponent's base, and really just punish him hard for going for that forward. Dogao has no real way that he can defend against this. No archer ranges in his own base, no defensive towers or anything. His wood line is going to fall to pieces.
Yeah, the only thing I'd say right here is Viper's lacking fletching, so you know, he's not killing those villas as quickly as he'd like if he had that. But you know, Dogao now having to send some skirmishers back to defend, it's not the ideal situation. But then again, you know, Dogao also doing good raiding on Viper here. Viper with a defensive tower, but hey, Dogao's army is still broken through, and Viper here could be in the spot of trouble on this gold mine. I think though that for now, Viper will be okay.
This is such a stereotypical Serengeti game where both players are struggling just to get a safe wood line. Dogao only sent like 2 or 3 skirmishers back to his own base, which actually means that it's going to boil down to some good micro to take down these archers. These archers, critically for the Vietnamese, take 1 more shot to kill in the feudal age by enemy archers, which gives them just a little bit of extra survivability, but the Viper will be zoned back. Dogao's base is safe. Can he keep the pressure on in the Viper's base?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's got the hill, which is nice, but he still doesn't have fletching himself. So both players lacking the fletching upgrade right now, and Viper doesn't even have a blacksmith to do it. Dogao at least has the blacksmith, so that's something. He's just trying to be a nuisance and set Viper back as much as possible, but those scores kind of flicking back and forth a little bit here as Viper retreats his forward archers back and focuses on just defending now. But hey, he knows that Dogao's very undefended, and he could very easily push back out once again to try and counterattack.
But Dogao wants to fix that, so he's building a defensive watchtower right now to protect his baobab trees, which are worth 200 wood, which kind of compensates for how sparse they are. Really though, the Viper moving his wood line up into the middle of his base, putting another defensive watchtower there. Now that's really good value for that one, because that is going to protect his stone, his gold, and one of his main wood lines. And right now, we've reached a little bit of a stalemate. Dogao no longer able to apply pressure, and he's actually going to throw away a huge chunk of his army trying to escape from the Viper's base.
Oh yeah, under that TC, losing a few there. That was nice for Viper actually, and he's got a decent score lead now because of it. He's also sending a pretty big army across to Dogao's side of the map, and you know, still without fletching, but he's got enough archers there that is going to kill villagers, and quite easily as well. Great point about this tower though, really good value, covering a lot, and Viper now actually getting a little bit of breathing room, uncontested economy at the moment.
So this game is gonna, we're get to see basically what's better, 3 extra HP on your archer range units in the feudal age, or is it better to have free double bit axe? And the answer is as the game drags on to the late feudal age, and it looks like neither player has any intentions of actually going to the castle age anytime soon, plus 3 HP is going to be a lot better once both players do indeed have double bit axe. The Viper moving into Dogao's base, denying that watchtower, killing quite a few gold miners. This is an excellent trade for him.
Yeah, I mean, that 3 HP, it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider that that's 3 HP on every single one of these archers, your total HP pool is much higher. And that's actually going to have a significant advantage, as you say. The more archers you actually create, the more valuable that becomes, which is very logical. But, you know, I feel like right now, Viper is failing to do as much damage as he would like. I think he needs to hit Dogao a little harder, to be honest. I mean, got a few villager kills, but he will be sent away by these skirms, and notice now how Dogao actually has fletching, whilst Viper is still only just building a blacksmith.
Yeah, Dogao is very, very slightly ahead in the population department, even though it looks like the Viper is applying a lot of pressure. Like you say, it might not be enough Dogao has to be careful, though, with these 3 skirmishers to avoid them getting picked off, and it looks like he will pull back. Dogao has so much map control, so we'll have to see if he's able to take advantage of it, because those archers that he has boxed in right there have done so much damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a lot of damage to these vills of Viper's woodline, and we kind of said that, you know, this tower was good, it covered a lot, but it depends which angle you look at it from, right? Viper's try to build more towers in this woodline, so clearly it's not as safe as we might have thought, and that fletching and +1 defense upgrade for Dogao having a really big impact here. Viper only just finishing fletching himself right now, and he is bringing the rest of his army back home, but, you know, I'm really wondering if Dogao is pulling himself way ahead here. I do think Dogao will click castle first. He does have more farms up at the moment compared to the Viper, and Viper seems to be a little messy right now.
Now, I did just adjust my own volume slightly, guys, so I need you guys to let me know in the Twitch chat if that is correctly balanced now. Dogao, with the skirmishers versus the Viper's archers, means that he does have the natural advantage here. The Viper does actually get the HP bonus on his own skirmishers if he wants to transition into that. But by massing archers like this, I feel like he's leaving himself wide open for this massive skirm play, and it's really not allowing him to get to the castle age or anything anytime soon. He has almost no resources stockpiled in the bank. Dogao really pulling ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the skirms are great, and with that +1 defense, they're going to be even better. But, I mean, right now, my main concern for Viper is that, yeah, he's building the archers, but what other options does he really have right now? He kind of has to do this, I feel.
Apparently I'm still a little too loud.
Yeah, I think I'm too quiet, actually. I'm
okay,
going to reduce your volume. I'm going to reduce your volume slightly so that that's showing a bit closer. But yeah, I think I was too quiet. I edited my mic earlier, and yeah. Should be good now.
Well, you know what's not good? The Viper situation in this game.
Uh-oh. Not at all.
The Viper moving out with his own group of archers, going to try and do some raiding. It's just the thing is that Dogao knows that the Viper's archers are moving out, so you lose out on the element of surprise. He might be able to pick off some villagers, but he doesn't have too much to defend himself, and the Viper wants to put down a watchtower to protect this wood line, and he will end up losing a bunch of villagers here with only one villager building that.
I think we're looking at different parts. Oh yeah, I see. You're speaking about this watchtower at the same
top,
time as this.
Oh,
at the same time, Viper's coming in and taking out villagers on a watchtower from Dogao as well. So it's very much like a base racy kind of situation. Well, it's not really base racy, but both players are attacking each other's bases at the same time. And Dogao here hemming Viper in. Like, he's trying to surround him with towers, I think, and just prevent the Viper from sending these counterattacks out without Dogao seeing. He wants to be able to know if Viper's sending the counterattack, because then he can deal with it, and then he can just focus on keeping the Viper hemmed in and keeping the Viper where he wants him, which is in this tiny portion of the map, which Viper's only just managed to carve out for himself.
Part of me is really wondering why the Viper is going for mass archers, not mixing in his own skirms as a way to hold the line here. And I think that the answer is that it's an economy thing. Like, his gold is incredibly safe, but his wood is not. His wood is being pressured on all sides. It's being denied from him at every single turn. So he has gold he can burn. So he can burn that on archers, but making skirmishers is going to be quite difficult for him and require him to build additional farms as well. I just don't think he's able to afford it.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, he can't really afford to be putting down or reseeding farms right now. Viper has just, let me just see real quick, 10 lumberjacks, which isn't a lot, and they keep getting forced away from the wood as well. Like, no wood line for Viper is safe. This tower here from Dogao is denying all of this, and he's only just managed to get back onto the wood at the north side with this tower there in defense. So Viper has a big wood problem, and right now, Dogao will be very close to the castle age as well, and I think once Dogao hits castle, I can see him very easily closing this game out, to be honest.
We were talking about bad wood earlier, and the Viper certainly has a case of bad wood where he has to put 3 watchtowers just to protect those acacia trees, which will recede away from him so very quickly, even with the additional wood. The Viper is just not in a position where he'll be able to get to the castle age anytime soon, and I think that's when this game will end. I've seen too many games of Age of Empires 2 where one player is just boxed in his base, taking so much damage. Look at Dogao's economy. He is actually very close to being able to get to the castle age.
And also, a thing to note here as well is that Viper has taken more stone this game. He's been forced to build more watchtowers. Dogao's built 4, while Viper's built 6. which means that Viper's spent a lot more stone on these static defenses, which isn't really that useful as the game goes on. Okay, it's important now, and he has no choice but to build these if he wants to save wood, but as time goes by, I mean, they're less and less valuable, and yeah, I mean, that could be the extra stone that the extra stone he gathered for these towers, sorry, could be invested into other things right now, like food and gold, which he needs to go to the Castle Age.
Yeah, that's a very good point. All those villagers could have been tasked onto something else, and now Dogao, on his way up to the Castle Age, almost at 25%. He's just really done a great job of boxing the Viper in and forcing him into a suboptimal situation where all the Viper can do is make archers which are naturally countered by these skirmishers. The Viper in some serious trouble.
At the same time, though, Viper is still trying to counterattack. He's going to do exactly what he can to, or everything he can, sorry, to harass Dogao's economy. He'll kill one villager. Maybe he'll find some more. I mean, this is pretty potent now. He's got fletching. Viper also finishing up +1 defense as well, and he also clicks up to the Castle Age right now too. Viper then, he's on 5% of the way up to Castle, whilst Dogao is at 63. So Viper perhaps not as far behind up to Castle as we thought, but it's still going to be quite an edge for Dogao now.
Ooh, that was a really good attack by the Viper, swinging around the back, trying to pick off as many villagers as he can. He got a couple, however, Dogao is prepared, and moving in with an army of skirmishers, he does have the hill advantage. The Viper has to retreat here. The Viper finally getting a little bit of breathing room, Dogao still being a nuisance with his forward watchtowers, and, well, the Viper might be a bit behind, but with a good attack, he could claw his way back into this.
Yeah, one thing that Dogao's doing right now that I actually really like is he's preemptively building a watchtower on these baobab trees on the right side.
Yeah, I saw that.
You can see that Viper's cutting wood there, and he's thinking, well, if I just build this tower here, he's only going to cut so far before he's in range, and then he can't grab the extra wood on the right side either. So Viper's got to come back here, I think, at the very, very north of his base to grab the wood next. But yeah, Dogao, Castle Age, and he is going to be upgrading those units. He is doing crossbow right now. He's doing elite skirmisher. He's doing bodkin arrow, and Dogao's just ready to push this one through. I hope we see a siege workshop because then he can make some rams and take these towers down as well. And who knows, potentially close it out here.
Both players.
Tower.
Yeah, both players are fairly even in the population department. The Viper desperate to get some more wood, and he will clear out that forward watchtower. This is a particularly interesting drawback of the Burmese, which is even though they have a very strong natural archer rush with the free double bit axe, in the Castle Age things start to get a little bit awkward for them, especially in the Imperial Age too, because they are missing those archer defense upgrades at the blacksmith, so he'll only be able to have padded archer armor on his elite skirms and his crossmen, and the Vietnamese archers are only getting better, and boy are they. 34 HP for them right now, and when he researches crossmen, they'll have a very crucial 41 HP, allowing them to live that mangonel blast, take an additional hit from a knight without forging. It's a really huge threshold.
Oh yeah, right now, I mean, it's only gone up by 1. We just watched that happen. 33 in Feudal, 34 in Castle. Of course, the crossbowman upgrade will give them a bonus HP, so there you go, 41 HP now. But that's a lot of additional HP, and we said this before, it might not be a lot on one individual unit, but when you've got a total of 29 ranged units, that entire HP pool is suddenly a lot higher, and this could be where Viper manages to pull himself back into this game now. However, I mean, Dogao does have elite skirmisher here. They are still going to counter the crossbows, not as effectively, but they still counter them at the end of the day.
That they do. Dogao actually has a lot of gold in the bank, but not very much in the wood department. The Viper will be building a siege workshop. I think a mangonel would actually really help him gain an advantage here. If he gets one good mangonel shot, it could take out most of Dogao's troops. It'd be a very cost-efficient exchange for him. Dogao putting down a bunch of town centers. He actually has 2 back at his own base, and we look at the Viper. So this is a dangerous situation for him, because he could start falling behind economically.
Oh yeah, completely agree. And right now, I mean, Viper just needs to get himself that mangonel, and then I think he's going to feel confident engaging Dogao head on, because yeah, he knows Dogao's probably going to take a big mangonel hit, and then his beefy crossbows will be able to clean it up. One thing I do want to say right now, though, is that it seems to me like while these games have been played, there's been no problems. Like, all of the games that we've cast so far, there's been no problems at all. They've been completely fine, and
Yep.
I think it's literally just spectating that was throwing the spanner in the works earlier on.
Oh yeah, I think that spectating with any players that have high ping just has been completely broken in patch 4.8, so hopefully the devs get on that soon, because that's a bit unfortunate. But I'm really glad that the recorded games themselves have been going really smoothly, and we have a good workaround for that. Dogao got to clean up a couple crossbows over there on the left side.
I didn't see that.
Only like
actually.
3. There are a couple dead bodies next to the double archer ranges.
Oh, right over here.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, over here. Yeah. Got it. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, there's actually been no drops between any of the players once we stopped spectating. So I think that's pretty good news for multiplayer anyway. A lot of people were concerned because they were saying, well, if it's lagging and stuff, it's going to be no good. But as it turns out, it was our spectating which was causing the problem, which, okay, that's not good news, and that's not a good thing. But at the same time, it does still mean that multiplayer is very playable, and we can see that here because, you know, Viper and Dogao having a good time.
That they are. This has been a relatively smooth game. Animation's still a little bit weird, but otherwise it has been pretty nice. And speaking of things that are nice, Dogao has a bunch of mangonels. He actually has 2 in his own base, and he's looking to box the Viper in. Will the Viper get any good pickoffs and lose his entire army? We'll have to see, because the Viper has 2 mangonels at his own base too.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, can you actually box anyone in on this map? It's so difficult
really.
to wall it. It's difficult to make a box. But yeah, Dogao hit 3 TCs right now. He's looking very good in economy. Viper on the other side of the map, still only on the 1 TC, and I think he needs to go higher aggression here to try and equalize things out. But this is dangerous. Look at this. Mangonels coming in. They're closing in on both sides. Viper needs to do something. Nice split. Takes a bit of damage from the mangonel on the bottom of the hill. The extra HP really going to help out in this situation. And he does manage to get out, taking out 1 mangonel, taking quite a lot of damage from these skirms, but I don't think Dogao has ballistics. So ultimately, Viper does manage to retreat out of there in relative safety, if you could call losing a few units safe.
That's some really, really solid control there from the Viper. Major props to him for not panicking in a situation like that, as one little misstep would have lost him the entire army and the entire game. It's just, despite how good his micro actually is, he was taking so much free damage from those elite skirmishers during that engagement that even though he juked all his mangonel shots was not enough. Speaking of free damage, he's taking quite a bit here while he waits for his own mangonels to come in range.
Oh, but those mangonels, they could be potent. He's got to spot the mangonel from Dogao. He will trade 1 for 1. And now Viper has a mangonel advantage. If he gets a good shot here, this army will die. And obviously, all of these units are basically dead. However, Dogao with 3 stables and knights. The first time we've actually seen a single knight in this tournament.
For those of you who watch competitive Age of Empires 2, we all know that knights are completely useless. No reason to ever make them. I'm of course kidding. Knights actually are one of the things that really define the competitive metagame. Knights crossmen, very potent units. Knights quite difficult to counter in the early Castle Age, and here they're going to be absolutely excellent, as Dogao will box in that army, pick off that mangonel, wipe out all of those units, and really just... The Viper's been falling behind economically. Dogao slowly pulling ahead in the economic department, and as a result, it's going to be very difficult for him to claw his way back if he's not winning with his military, and he just lost his whole army.
Viper really needed to do some damage to Dogao there, and that's it. It's GG. He loses his entire army of crossbows, and he calls it. He knows at this stage, I think, that Dogao has at least 2 TCs. He probably assumes that Dogao has 3, and Viper back at home has just 1 town center, but he just lost his entire army on top of that. Not to mention the fact that he can see Dogao has +2 defense on his knights and bloodlines as well. So Dogao with 3 stables really going to be pumping those knights out. There's no way Viper had a defense to that at this stage.
Yeah, I think that Dogao made a really good decision to transition into knights there, and he just had a very strong counter army to the Vietnamese. The Vietnamese are very predictable. The thing that makes them so strong as a civilization is that archer range bonus. Well, at least militarily. They have a lot of indirect strength in being able to reveal enemy positions, for example, but it's really those archers. And if you know that your opponent is going to be a shoehorned into crossmen, and if you can really pressure that wood line to make sure that he is only able to do that, then things like knights, elite skirmishers, and some mangonels can just really put the nail in the coffin there. So well played there from both players. GG. Oh
yeah, I completely agree. And honestly, Dogao played a great game. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and you know, this is a best of 1 sort of series, so anything can happen. And Viper now actually going to drop down into the lower bracket. Dogao will advance to the semi-finals. Great news for Dogao. Obviously, Viper now not in a great position. He's 1 loss from elimination. He can't afford to lose another game this tournament. But you're totally right about the Vietnamese. I mean, they are... Well, this is the thing. The Vietnamese, they are very predictable, and I think they can be potentially very strong in the late game, but I think they work more as a team game civilization than a standalone civilization. Their units, for example, like the elite Imperial Skirmisher, which is available to all of their allies, it's amazing in team games, especially in the late game. Their paper money technology, it's very much a team game bonus or technology. The Rattan Archer, it can work in single player, but 1v1, but I think it also works extremely well in team games as a support unit and a frontliner to combine with something else. I feel like the Vietnamese need to combine things together in order to be very effective. As standalone, I do think they fall a little short, to be honest.
I completely agree with you on that analysis. I feel like the Vietnamese are strongest in a team game where they offer so much utility with all their bulky units. But on their own, a lot of their units are situational, same with their bonuses too, so it's really nice to have other civilizations that are able to compensate for those weaknesses and complement your own army, and here, the Vietnamese just fell a little bit short. They didn't really have the impact in this game that they hoped, and maybe if we look at the economy tab in the achievements, we see, once again, the Viper, he only had safe gold, and this really just made the Crossman problem for him even worse, and I think Dogao just took really good advantage of it. And the Viper had so many excellent moments, but Serengeti is a really tricky map to play when you're getting forwarded that hard.
It's ruthless and it's completely brutal. But we're going to throw it over to Nilly now. He's going to be doing some analysis for us, so he can take it away.